You have a dream, but a voice in your head whispers, "What if you fail?" That little voice in your head starts spinning worst-case scenarios, convincing you that disaster is just around the corner. Before you know it, you're frozen, letting fear dictate your decisions. Life slips by, dreams fade, and before long, life becomes a monotonous treadmill. Safe, but boring. In this video, I'm going to show you how to break free from paralyzing fear and reignite that fire in your belly so that life becomes fulfilling and fun once again, so that you don't ever fail. Stay with me for the next 10 minutes or so, and I'll spill the beans. Hi, I'm Trevor, and until I was well into my 30s and beyond, I'd been dealt some blows by life to the point where I was scared to make decisions, especially the big ones, in case I got it wrong. I'm talking about a very bad first marriage. We were just horribly incompatible, which led to a huge mortgage and debt I couldn't see a way out of once we split up, all of which, in turn, led me to thinking I apparently hadn't got the hang of life, and from there, as you can imagine, I was scared to almost put one foot in front of the other. My search for success and happiness led me to discover the law of attraction before it was widely known. I'm talking early 1990s. Then, when I couldn't seem to get it working, again, of course, blaming myself for many years, I eventually began to think that perhaps the universe didn't work as I was being led to believe by all the teachings. And bit by bit, I discovered that happiness, success, and all the goodies of life come effortlessly if we will only allow them to. That discovery also led to fear fading away, so now I'm not afraid to dream big dreams, and I know I can manifest them. I've written a short ebook, which is free, about my effortless manifesting method called Let's Manifest a Ferrari, which you can download by clicking the link at the top of the description. Here's the thing. Fear doesn't exist outside our thoughts. It's not like a wall you can physically run into. It's more like a shadow created by our imagination. Think about it. When we talk about fear, we're afraid of something that hasn't even happened yet. Public speaking, failure, rejection. None of these things hurt us physically, yet they paralyze people every day. Why? Because we dwell on them, we imagine worst-case scenarios, and we convince ourselves they're real. Can you see? You're not afraid of what you think you're afraid of. You're afraid of what you think. Thanks to Michael Neal for that quote and insight. Well, that's exciting news, because if all you're afraid of is your own thoughts, then suddenly you have immense power, because you can think a different thought in the next split second. Or better still, you can simply notice that your fear is only made of thought and ignore it. I've mentioned this idea of ignoring thoughts in previous videos, and whilst some people seem to get the idea right away, others struggle with it, which I completely understand, because I did too for a long time. So think of it like telling a child to go back to sleep when they're woken by a nightmare. What do we say? Or what did your parents say to you? I bet it was, "It's all right. Go back to sleep. It's only a dream." And within a few minutes, the child's mind settles down, reassured that the danger isn't real, and they're able to sleep again. They can still remember the dream, but it's not scary anymore. The only difference is that as grown-ups, we usually have to do our own reassuring to ourselves. And we create the nightmare scenarios in our heads while we're awake. Shaolin is a school of Buddhism where they study the body as well as the mind. Shaolin masters understand this idea deeply. They teach that the mind and body are connected, but it's usually the mind that gives up first, not the body. The body can endure far more than we think, but the mind steps in and says, "I can't do this." And the moment you believe that thought, you're done. Think about the last time you backed out of something because it felt too hard or too scary. Was it really impossible, or did your mind just convince you it was? Shale in training includes holding difficult positions for extended periods, not just to build physical endurance, but to train the mind. At some point, the body starts to shake, muscles ache, and that inner voice kicks in. This is too much. I should stop. But if you push through that moment, you realize something incredible. Your body can keep going. It was just your mind that wanted to quit. Fear works the same way. It tells you to stop long before you've actually reached your limits. It makes you hesitate, overthink, and doubt yourself. And if you listen to it, you'll never take the action needed to reach your dreams. I love the acronym F.E.A.R, false expectation appearing real. Most of what we're afraid of never actually happens. We just think about it so much that it starts to feel real. But fear doesn't have to control us. You can train your mind to see through it, to push forward despite it, and to build the kind of mental resilience that stops fear from sabotaging your dreams. Let me give you 3 powerful strategies for dealing with fear so that it can never rule your life again. Before I do, just a quick reminder that if you'd like to know more about my effortless strategy for manifesting a life of happiness, fulfillment, and success, then do download a copy of my free ebook, Let's Manifest a Ferrari, by clicking on the link at the top of the description. So, how do we stop fear from ruling our lives? We train the mind just like we train the body. Here's how. Recognize fear for what it is. The next time fear grips you, stop and ask yourself, is this real? Or is it just my mind projecting something that hasn't happened? Awareness is the first step to breaking fear's hold. Awareness of the thoughts that are at work in your mind is the key to noticing them. And I emphasize that because as soon as you realize you're noticing your thoughts, and this applies to any thought, by the way, then you detach yourself from it and any emotional charge it might have had. You are not your thoughts, and reality is whatever you project it to be. To give you an example, during my time as a practicing psychotherapist, I worked with people with many different kinds of phobias, from spiders and snakes to flying, heights, and even one lady I recall who was afraid of brown horses. What they all have in common is this: they will all tell you they know it's irrational, yet they only have to think of a spider or whatever they're afraid of, and they feel the fear, even when there is no spider. The now famous 10-minute phobia cure, once considered impossible by traditional psychotherapists, and which I've done hundreds of times for people with phobias, so I know firsthand that it works in case anyone's in any doubt, works because it essentially recognizes that the fear isn't caused by the thing, whatever it is, but by thoughts about the thing. Help someone to change their thoughts, and the thing will no longer hold power over them. To the subject, it feels like magic. And I have to confess that even to me, and I suspect many other therapists, even though I knew it would always work, it looks like magic too. But in fact, it's a clear demonstration that what we think of as reality only exists in our own mind. And you can change your mind in a heartbeat. The second strategy for mastering fear is to challenge false expectations. False expectations appearing real, remember? If fear is just a thought, then try changing the thought that spawned the fearful thoughts. So instead of, what if I fail? Ask, what if I succeed? Flip the script. There's a book that came out about 15 years ago with the wonderful title, What If It All Goes Right? In fact, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but without you doing a thing, most things are all right most of the time. Oh, don't start protesting that the world is in a mess. I know that, and I don't want to get political, so I'm going to skate over this. But depending on how you count them, there are reckoned to be 195 countries in the world. Some sources say it's as many as 200. And right now, 80 to 85% of them are not involved in any kind of war. Most countries are not at war. Most planes don't and won't crash. That's why when they do, it makes the news. It's awful, of course, but it's also rare, very rare. At a personal level, you've survived all kinds of attacks from bugs and germs, as well as emotional dents and damage. Another book I read back in the 1980s was a rather tongue-in-cheek book by an American psychotherapist called Paul Watzlawick. The book's title was The Situation is Hopeless, but Not Serious, and its subtitle was The Pursuit of Unhappiness. The chapter I remember best, although the details have faded, I confess, concerned taking risks. Mr. W pointed out that people who engage in high-risk sports, such as hang gliding, are more likely to suffer fatal accidents than those who don't. So avoid high-risk sports. He then went on to say how many people were killed in cars each year. So don't travel by car. Which led him to talk about the number of innocent pedestrians who get caught up in bank robberies. So don't go out. But then he reminded the poor reader, most accidents happen at home. So stay in bed. But if you stay in bed, you're likely to suffer from pressure sores, you'll be prone to catching pneumonia, and you'll probably die. I hope you see the joke. Life is a risky business. In fact, as Deepak Chopra once said, life is a sexually transmitted terminal condition. That's the game we're all in. The only question isn't whether or not to avoid risks, but where to draw the line. It's a personal choice, but the key point is to remember that you're free at any time to redraw it. It's a line in the sand, not carved in stone. Finally, the third strategy for mastering fear is to remember that it's always temporary. It will only last for as long as you focus on it. The Shaolin masters, among many others, use breath work to shift attention. The breath, they say, is the place where the body meets the mind. So focus on your breath. You may also use mindfulness or meditation techniques, all of which can bring your mind back to the present, where you are safe. That's why staying present is so powerful, and any of those techniques will stop fear from running the show. The truth is, fear will never fully disappear, but it doesn't have to control you. You can recognize it, challenge it, and push past it. And every time you do, you prove to yourself that fear was never real in the first place. So next time fear tries to stop you, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what if I do this and it all goes right? And then, if you need to, remember that so far in life you've done okay. I mean, you're still here, aren't you? So you might also add to your thoughts, no matter what happens, I'll handle it. And then fear can disappear in a puff of smoke and you can get on with living your life. I hope you found this video helpful. Do remember that you can download a copy of my free ebook, Let's Manifest a Ferrari, simply by clicking the link at the top of the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon in another video.